For many mountain bikers and actually bike riders in general, they often start on flat pedals. They're the simplest thing, you don't really need any special shoes, you just jump on the bike and go. But for a lot of mountain bikers, the benefits of clipless pedals are hard to ignore and eventually they want to move over. So here are a few tips on transitioning to clipless pedals. The first thing I will say is there's nothing wrong with riding flat pedals. Many people just stay on them. And myself, I rode them 15 years when I raced downhill, and they're really good for learning the basics of riding on. So I think there are a few good reasons why you should learn to ride on flat pedals. One of those is being able to dab, so to get your foot to the floor really quickly. That helps in corners where you don't quite get it right. Also in technical situations, it's a bit less scary being able to get off the bike quick if you have to. And one of the biggest reasons I think is for learning the correct skills. With flat pedals, you can't cheat, you have to use your weight to lift the bike into the air. So a big one of those is the bunny hop. And as I say in a lot of the skills videos, actually bunny hopping well goes on to lots of other things. So being able to jump properly, but also to unweight over technical situations on the ground like rocks and roots. So why would you want to move over to clipless pedals? Well, for me, it was the change from downhill racing to enduro racing, where it's a much more endurance fitness based sport. I felt that the extra power and efficiency you get from clipless pedals makes that bigger difference. For me personally, it feels on flat pedals, you just use your quads to push down on the pedals, but with clips, you use your hamstrings much more. On long rides, my legs feel much less tired on clipless pedals. There is a good reason why all road and cross-country riders use clipless pedals. So what kit are you going to need to move to clipless pedals, or clips as we like to call them? The first thing is the pedals themselves. Now this is a Crank Brothers Mallet E. It's somewhere in the middle. It's an enduro pedal. So you can see the clipless system in the middle, and you've got this cage around the outside that's going to give you some support on the bottom of your shoe. You can get a few different options. You can go for some cross-country pedals that are lighter. They don't have this cage around the outside, or bigger pedals that are downhill pedals with a bigger platform. You're also going to need some clipless specific mountain bike shoes. You can see in the bottom here, you've got that cleat that engages into the pedal, that gives you that connection to the bike. So they're bolted into the bottom of the shoe and they can be adjusted. You also often see these systems like this ratchet and this Velcro strap to keep the shoe nice and snug to your foot. Now there is another option, and that is a hybrid pedal like this Crank Brothers double shot, where it's a flat pedal on one side and then a clipless pedal on the other. Now that might be really good for someone who uses their bike for a couple of different things. Maybe they commute on it in the week to work and they want the benefits of clipless pedals, and then at the weekend they ride off-road and they want to ride flat pedals. And that really saves you buying two sets of pedals and then swapping them all the time. Whilst clips are great for a lot of things, it's definitely in the skills department where you can cheat with them. Obviously, because you're attached to the bike, you can use your feet to pick up the back wheel. But there's a good reason not to do that, because if you do that, all your weight is still over the back wheel. So if I pick the back wheel up to go over a really slippy route and I get the timing wrong, all my weight's there, so I will slide off it. So there's still a good reason to try and use your weight to lift the back wheel rather than cheat and use your feet. Whilst personally I do like to feel my pedal through the bottom of my shoe, and I actually adjust the pins on my pedals to do that, you don't want too much friction because that's going to hinder you clipping in and getting out. So you want to play around with the pins if you can, but also you can get these spacers that go underneath your cleats just to pull it a bit further away from the shoe if you're getting too much interference. There's also quite a few different things you can play around with cleat setup. So sliding them front to back, adjusting the twist a little bit. Personally, I like that cleat to be slightly behind the ball of my foot, only slightly, and it just sits me in that nice position on the pedal. I find if you have that cleat too far forward, you start standing on your toes too much, and it starts using your calf muscle an awful lot, and that can lead to cramps in your calf muscle. You also get the option with Crank Brothers pedals of choosing 15 or 20 degree release. So personally, I prefer the 15 degree release, which means you put the cleat with the dots on your right shoe. That means I can just get out nice and quickly when I want to. If you put that cleat with the dots on the left shoe, you get that 20 degree release. And that might suit people with a different pedaling style. They might move around on the bike a little bit more. They don't want to come out the pedals unexpectedly. So you can adjust the cleat side to side as well. And that is probably determined more by the length of the axle of your pedal. I like to space my foot out as much as possible, which does increase the Q factor, so how far apart your feet are, but that just means there's no chance of my toe catching on the crank at all when I'm trying to unclip. When you're getting used to riding in clips, I would always recommend going somewhere nice and mellow with easy trails, because it can be pretty scary if you're not used to it being attached to the bike. Also get used to just unclipping early before you stop. Another good way of practicing on your clipless pedals is to find yourself a bit of space and do some low speed maneuvers, a bit of cornering, just to get used to being attached to the bike and getting used to clipping out and getting your foot on the ground as quick as you can just before you topple over. I know that does still happen to a lot of us when we're practicing. And I would say try and persevere. It did take me quite a long time to get used to riding with clipless pedals. So there you go, there's a few tips on getting used to riding with clipless pedals. I know it took me quite a while to do it myself, but now I probably ride them for 90% of the time. Just for things like downhill and jumps, I still ride flats. If you want to see more videos from GMBN, click on the GMBN logo here to subscribe, totally free. If you click down there, that'll take you through to how to set up your clipless pedals, and click over there for clips versus flats. Give us a thumbs up if you found this video useful.